So hello everyone. Today I will present the last part of build an RPG tutorial, that is to build a shop system. And I will also cover how to integrate the shop system with the previous three parts of the RPG game so that you have like a complete version of the game. And of course, this is just like a skeleton of the game, and you can add more functions if you want. So I will first show you like what the entire project will look like. If you're following along with the previous tutorials, you can just like after watching today's tutorial, you will be able to combine things together to have this complete project. So this is the start scene of the game, and then you will enter the overworld. And now if you go to the battle system, you'll notice that the inventory is empty because we today we will be go over how to use the shop to add items to the inventory. Um, so now you this is where the shop will be at, and you can also use the ASK key to access the shop. So now there are a list of items in a shop, and you can see that it will display the descriptions and the price of the shop items. And if you want to purchase something, you can press space, and then you will be able to purchase it, and it will also show up in the inventory list. So now we have purchased things, and we can go back to the battle system. So if we go to fight, and now we need to heal, so we can just access the bat, and then we'll be able to use the items that we just purchased. So we just get healed, and we can continue to fight. Okay. So this is the complete project, and today I will first show you how does the shop system work, and then how to integrate the things together, and how to integrate shop and the inventory together. So first I will show you the shops. So for this thing, I highly recommend you to watch the previous tutorial about the inventory system, because the shop UI looks really like the inventory system. And I also used the previous codes and similar structures to integrate these things. So if you watch the previous tutorial, it will be really helpful for you to understand the code and the basic structure of this UI. And because that's covered in last video, I will just briefly go over them. In the shop UI, you will notice this image displays the item selected, and there will be a list of items, and this is the scroll bar. And here we will display coins that is essential for the shop system, and also we'll have a inventory list so that you can see what you've purchased. Today we will be editing like the main two scripts that we'll be editing as the shop display scripts and the shop UI controller scripts. So let me just, before this, we will first need to edit the scriptable objects so that they will have a boolean that stores if they are purchased and their price. So to do this, we need to access the inventory script. I think it's in the inventory item. So these are what were covered before for the scriptable objects, and today we want to add a boolean that stores if the object is purchased and as price. We will also need some functions that like will return the value of if they will be purchased. And this function works to make sure like it is purchased. And this reset function will be used for the start scene to like initialize the boolean value, so that at the start of the game, like all the objects as not purchased. So they will show up in a shop system, but not in an inventory system. And this will return the price of it. So after editing these, just make sure to like go to the scriptable objects. So for example, here, as we showed last time, you can edit the icon of this. So you can like import assets to it, and you also need to edit the price of it. So you can set it to whatever you want that makes sense for the shop. And after changing the inventory system, inventory item script, will now go to the shop display script. So if you remember from the inventory tutorial, this shop display script is the most essential thing for for the UI to work. So the start of these are similar to the inventory system, and today we'll add like price, coins, tags, and inventory list. So we'll be able to output more things to here and here. Um, um, and this is I will cover this later, how to integrate things together. And we can first look at the get shop function. So this is similar to the previous get inventory function. So we want to remove all the items that are not purchased from display, that are purchased from display. So for example, if you've purchased something, you don't want it to show up. So we have this if statement. And then we also want items that are not purchased to show up in a list. So we will have this if statement here. This function just updates the shop display list. And then after that function, we'll have to change the render display function. So this is the function that updates the shop's lots that you can see in the game. The previous tutorial have covered most of what these functions does, and today we'll be mainly like looking at how it changes the price and the coins available, and how it updates the list, the display list. So first we want like the price, the text of the price to display like the item, the price of that item. So this is just similar to these functions. And then we want this coins text to also show the available coins. So this value will be updated, and we'll cover that later. And then we will update the inventory list text through this function get inventory. We can look at this function first. So the get inventory function works by producing the items that you've purchased. So it will search through like all the items that are inventory items, and if it is purchased, then it will be added to the string, and then it will return the string so that it has like a list of all the inventory items that you've purchased. So how you purchase it is also similar to like what we did in the action panel for the previous tutorial. Um, let's go back to the game and look at this action panel. So it's not toggled right now, but we want to see what it does. So the first, we have two options. The first is to purchase, and the second is to go back. And when it press like purchase, we want the item to be labeled as is purchased, and we want the inventory list to update, and we want the coins to change. So to do this, let's go back to the script. So um, So if action one is initiated, we will buy this item. So this function is for like this item that is on cursor. If the coins available minus the price of this item is greater than or equal to 0, that means we will be able to purchase this item, and then the coins will subtract. And then we want to like toggle off the action panel, and then we want to update on the available items. And this is just for the users to go back. And then we want to update the display items um, so that it is updated after we call the get shop function, so that it will display like a updated list of items that are still not purchased. So these are like the different functions that are from the UI display that we use for inventory. And if you want to know what the rest of the function does, you can always go back to the inventory tutorial. That is very helpful. Um, and then and then after updating the shop display function, we just want this thing to work. So um, so for the shop scene to work, there is a very simple scene. There is a very simple script that makes it work. That is the shop system. So when the scene is low, it will toggle the shop UI so that it will show up. And then if the user press E, we will go back to the previous thing. So now we know how to update the items, the prices and the points, but we also want to integrate with the inventory system so that what we do here can influence the inventory so that we can use the inventory that we purchased for the battle system. So now let's go back to the inventory system. So the inventory UI is in the combat scene. So we want this list to update. And for the inventory tutorial, we covered how to search through the list so that if I use this item, it will disappear from the list. And it works similarly. So if we go to the UI display script that controls the display list in a game. Sorry, I'll repeat this. So we want to go back to the UI display script so that it will update the inventory list after we purchase something. So we can just change this function by adding another condition. So basically it means if the item is not purchased, we will not display it. And if the item is purchased, then we want to display it. So just by adding these two functions, we will be able to integrate the two things together. And I think this shows like the advantages of using scriptable objects because they can store the values like if they're purchased, and we can just use this function to get whether they're purchased and to decide whether we want to display it. So now we are able to integrate the inventory system with the shop system. And we also want to integrate all the things that we've worked on together. So the first thing we want to do um, is to integrate the overworld with the shop system. So let's go back to the overworld and see what it does. So we noticed that there is a house, and if we want the player, when the player collides with the house, we want the player to enter the shop. So recall that the script that is that controls the player's movement is the player movement script. So um, so we pull up this script, and so one way to access the shop scene is by pressing S, that stands for the shop. And another way is that um, if so we have this boolean, and if the place that is not workable, that is like the player enters this house, then we want to switch to the shop scene. So the overworld is already connected with the battle system and the inventory system. But to make this game more complete, we also want the players to have ways that they can return back to the scenes. So in a battle system, we can also, so throughout the game, if the player presses the key E, they will be able to go back to the overworld scene that connects all the scenes together. And another thing we need to do is to set up the start scene that I showed at the beginning of this tutorial. So the advantage of having that start scene is it initializes like all the variables like coins and whether the items are purchased. So for example, if that statement is in this scene, then every time you go back to this scene, it will update. So having that start scene will help us initialize the variables. So recall that we have this reset function. So item reset means that they are not purchased, so that they will show up in the shop system. So at the start of this game, we want all the items, all the scriptable objects to reset so that they are not purchased. So they will not show up in the inventory, but show up in the shop. And we also set these coins to 100. So that means even if you go back to the shop another time, you don't go through this start scene, so the coins will not update, and it will store all the values that you use in the game until like you you die from this game or win and restart. So this is the advantage of initialize these things. And then so if we press S, we will enter the overworld scene. So after updating all these functions, we will be able to integrate all the scenes together. Going over the project, we can actually look at the specific code that enables the shop system to work. So let's first look at the inventory item. So we changed we added these two variables, and we also added these functions, and they can be really helpful for the shop display script to get the information of the scriptable objects. So now let's look at the shop display script. So we first want to start with the function that enables us to buy item in a shop, and this is a easier one to start with. So we first want to check if we have enough coins. So if there are enough coins, remember we have that purchase function, so we can just set the purchase boolean to true, and then subtract the coins. So after doing this function, we also want a function that outputs the things in the inventory. So we already have this string that serves as the inventory list. So for the inventory items, So if this item is purchased, then we add its name to the list of inventory, the string of the inventory. And we also output a line to make it looks better. Okay, so now let's look back at the function that updates what is in the display list of the shop. So recall that similar to the inventory tutorial, we have the display list, that is what will show up, and we also have the kill list that helps us to remove items. So for inventory in the display list, so if this item is not purchased, then no, if this item is purchased, then we add it to the playlist, to the kill list. So if the item is purchased, we don't want it to show up in the shop, so we add it to the kill list. So now let's look at the kill list. We wanted to remove the items here. And we also want to reduce the list size by 1, and this helps us to determine like how many items are in the list, so that we can display them, and this is covered in the inventory tutorial. So now we want another if statement here. So for now, if the item is not purchased, we want to add it to the display list, as well as increasing the list size. Okay, so now we finished this get shop function. Let's look at the render display function that actually displays all the information of the items. So these are just similar to what we did for the inventory, and now we want to display price, coins, and the inventory list. So remember that price isn't in, so we just convert it to a string, and then we just update coins here. So we can use the get inventory function here to output the list of items in the inventory. So if there none of the item is selected, then we can just set up these display to be something that shows that there is no item selected. And the action panel is also turned off. So we now updated our functions in the shop display script. And we also want to update the UI display script so that items that are not purchased will not show up in the inventory. So this is actually very easy to do. So let's just look at our get inventory function. And then if the item is not purchased, we will add it to the queue list. And if the item is purchased, then we want to display it. So we just add these two statements and the script will work. Okay, so another thing that we look at is the script of the start scene. So we want to initialize all the items in inventory so that they are all not purchased. So recall that we have that reset function. So the reset function just changes that boolean to like they are not purchased. And then we also have the coins here. So since we set it this way, like these variables will only initialize when the game enters the start scene. That is when they first play that game. So that will be better than storing these variables in a single scene other than the start scene. Okay. So these are all the changes that are made to these are the major changes that are made to the shop tutorial, and I hope that with this tutorial you can integrate everything we learned in the last 3 tutorials together along with this shop system to build your RPG game. And you can with this skeleton you can actually add a lot of interesting functions and features to the game. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial.